because you need to be able to see the terrain and how deep the terrain is.
You are.
We have trucks and Broncos, but we are also upgrading his exhaust. Let's go walk around. I got this guy behind me, that guy over there, them over there. We're good. Oh, so let's check this out. So this is a client of ours. He ended up getting this 2021, and he ended up taking it to a local shop. They did a bunch of work to it, but he wanted us to kind of do a couple of the finishing touches. So it's actually, it looks pretty badass from the outside. He has fiberglass fenders front and rear. So when the fenders get wider, you see this little filler piece here that has to get added. That's all there. Everything else is pretty much stock. So stock headlights, stock grille, hood, doors are stock, but everything else you can kind of see the front and rear fenders quite a bit wider. Up front, you can tell we got rid of the stock bumper. It's gonna get you a much better approach angle. So approach angle is gonna be, when are you gonna hit your bumper here before you hit the tires? So the approach angle for this vehicle is going to be quite good. So you could go up to an obstacle pretty big sized boulder, run over it with your tire and not have to damage your bodywork. So these screws are probably going to be some finishing pieces that they're going to have, maybe like a little rubber molding piece that's going to run along the whole edge. But yeah, so you have that, and you can see the reservoir poking through in front of that. You got your upper control arms. So the suspension is done by RPG, and you got king shocks. You got the coilover and the bypass right in here. This guy is the bypass, this guy is the coilover. It's kind of a dead giveaway because this one has the threaded body on it and has the spring. The bypass is just there to absorb the shock. Running a nice set of Method wheels with some Toyo Open Country MTs. Great tires, can't ever go wrong with them. So again, they got some Deavers back there. They're trailing arms. Those are probably like 3.5s, I think, back here. Yeah, they're 3.5s. So 3.5s back here. Big bulging fender to allow that tire to operate and come fully up and tuck and not damage anything. And then again, more goodness on this side. So when you poke into here, you can see that he has what we refer to as a bypass rack. So this rack comes up here, the actual rear shocks poke through the bed, and this allows you to have more rear suspension travel because the previous shock would have been mounted to right here. So you can see right there, it's almost the halfway line of this shock. So instead of being mounted there, you have it now mounted technically like there in the bed. So you're gonna have much more travel on the rear end. So now doing a modification like that will allow the rear end of the truck to keep up with the front end of the truck. Because in the off-road world, we have the issue of having the front end or back end perform better than one or the other. So if you're designing a truck and building a truck, well, you wanna make sure that both the front end and rear can complement one another and absorb the same impact of the terrain, because you're going to hit the same terrain no matter what. So you want it to make sure the truck stays level and doesn't buck up and down too much, while you're going off-road. Again, we did not build this truck, but it's just in for some small stuff. They were more than happy to take care of. As you can see in the parking lot, we have trucks and Broncos. That's pretty much it. So you got my Raptor, you got a badass Super Duty that again we have Carli suspension on. So we should be getting paid from Carli, but we're not actually. So we got another stock Gen 1. We have a first edition Bronco that has a whole bunch of parts on it that we just put a roof rack on. Gonna get a rooftop tent. That's gonna look really cool. F-150 that's in for some work. Full carbon Mustang, Mustang GT. Another Bronco, first edition, and another first edition. Jesus, we have 3 first editions. So that yellow one and this one are all first editions. We get spoiled, guys. We see a lot of cool stuff quite often. And that little guy poking out back there is our SEMA Bronco that did quite well in SEMA, and we're really happy with the way it came out. There's David getting in my shot as usual. All right, let's see what we have in the shop. This Bronco got wheels from Fuel, got rock rails that are side steps, power side steps too. So bam, you get in and out, and when it's closed, it acts as a rock rail. We got Javier over here working on it. What's up, Javier?
Hey, hello.
So Javier finished the bumper earlier this week. He put this ADD Addictive Desert Designs front bumper, the factory sensors go in it. He put a really nice Baja Designs 20-inch light bar in there, set up the wiring inside. So this thing not only gives you off-road protection, you have skid plates, and it has an option for a winch. So when the customer's ready to go, the winch is gonna live right here. And yeah, I'm really excited to see this build go on because there's a bunch of goodies, as you can see from the boxes kind of laying around here, that are gonna go on this guy. This truck belongs to one of our very good friends. So I'm gonna be going to Mexico the 19th of this month. We have a trip planned with a group called Dirt Days, and Boris is another one of our good clients that brought his truck in for us to do a kind of a pre-Baja checklist that we do. For all of our customers, we offer that. If it's a sports car going to the track, we do a pre-track inspection. For the off-road trucks, we do a off-road inspection. So Boris's truck is in. My truck actually has to go in for one of these as well, because I don't want to get stranded down in Baja. Boris has a couple trucks that we work on, but this one is a Gen 1 crew cab Raptor. He's done quite a lot of work on. So right off here, you can see that he has the Ford Performance diff cover poking up here, just like how you saw in the other vehicle, but these are 4.0s. So he has 4.0 King shocks going through the bed with a bypass rack. He has King hydraulic bump stops. So when this suspension is traveling, and if it's gonna go up really fast, this hydraulic bump stop will stop the inertia of the axle going up before it bangs against the frame and bends something. So that is a must-have when you wanna go jump the truck like we do. Because this axle goes up and down so much, the exhaust that used to come out over here can no longer do that because it would be destroyed by this axle. So we terminate the exhaust before the axle. My Gen 1 had the same type of mod, and that again saves the exhaust pipe from a beating when it's articulating, or when the suspension is cycling, as we like to call it. So back here, Boris has an SVC, I think this is the V3 bumper, which I had on my Gen 1 as well. And then you can see we dovetailed the back. Method Wheels, great company to work with. He has some Nitto mud grapplers on there. So these are very aggressive mud tires. Coming along here, he's obviously removed the the running boards, because it's just the stuff he does, he doesn't need it. Up here you have King shocks up front, coilover, SVC upper control arms. He's stuck with the stock lowers and the stock tie rods. Again, with these trucks, my personal opinion, everyone has their own opinion. I kind of like leaving the stock tie rod, because if you're gonna bend something off-road, I'd rather bend the tie rod and not destroy the rack, because these I carry spares of and it's easy to keep. But if you're gonna put badass heavy duty ones from all the companies that we work with, like SVC, which are great upgrades, but that ends up not bending and your rack ends up breaking. So it's much easier to replace this on the trail than your rack on the trail. Don't ask me how I know. Another thing you see here, so these are cam alignment shims that we've welded in. So this is how you align the truck normally. But when you go off-road, if the standard hardware is left in there, this is not the standard, but if the standard hardware is left in there, with the first few bumps, this lower control arm can move in this pocket and throw off your alignment. So this is step one, which is a cam alignment kit that we weld. And then you have, actually no, I'm sorry, he has the gusset plates too. So he has the cam alignment kit, and then we gusseted it over here, because this is a common place that's gonna get beat up by rocks and debris off the road, off the trail. So you wanna beef it up like we did. You see that weld plate we did, to make sure this doesn't bend when you get hit by a basketball-sized rock or whatever else you might see on the road. Up here, he has the big boy, the LP9s from Baja Designs. These things, look at my hands, so you can see how big these are. These give you quite a decent amount of light. He has more lights on the rack. Again, where you're going off-roading, especially nighttime off-roading requires lights up top, above your cab, because you need to be able to see the terrain and how deep the terrain is. Lights on your front bumper aren't really gonna do you much good at nighttime off-roading. They're gonna illuminate the trail, but you can't see the size of the hole, so you don't know if it's a 2-foot whoop or a 6-foot whoop you're hitting. And you'd kinda like to know that before you hit the terrain. Again, so bypass for the coilover, you got the uppers from SVC. So Boris's truck is pretty well equipped. So here, I'll give you an idea of what the stock setup is. So this is a stock truck with a stock setup. If this bolt was loosened, you'll see that it's a slotted hole. It's not an exact, it's tough to see, but it's not a circular hole, just one circular hole. So it's a slotted hole to allow you to get alignment out of it. And that's why this will get knocked out very easily off-road. And you want to go with a setup like Boris's, or I have the same setup. We recommend it to a lot of customers to do that upgrade. Let's see, who's this big girl up on this lift? It came in for a Carli kit. So this is a Carli commuter kit for a Ram. So you have the beefy arms. It's a backcountry? Yeah. I thought it was a pin top with that thing. So I got it, sorry. Okay. Backcountry. You got the adjustable panhard bar down here, because with a solid axle vehicle, when you lower a vehicle, the axle will actually, if you lower or lift the truck or vehicle, the axle will actually push to one side or the other. So this adjustable rod allows us to center the axle back under the vehicle. so it's not poking out too much to one side or the other. You have the new coil, the Fox shock with the reservoir, looking all fancy, beefy radius arms. So what this does is it allows you to keep the caster correct on the truck, because if you lift it and you don't properly adjust or have a proper arm for it, the caster on the truck is gonna be off, and it's gonna allow the truck to drive very poorly on the road. These dualies back here, so when we did the suspension lift, the inner dually was getting very, very close to this guy, which is a little bit worrisome.
You can see on this side, Tommy, right here. You see the bracket for this lease pack. See how close it is?
There you go. Yeah, so it's almost kissing it. And you can't, yeah, you can see, it's too close for comfort, because again, these tires will flex a little bit. The sidewall will bulge out under load as it's driving. So you don't, again, not that this area does, more so the area that touches the floor does, but you don't want to be that close. You want to have a little bit of room in case of a rock or some kind of debris gets in there.
We had these 1/2-inch inner wheel spacers made.
So we're going to put that spacer on the inside, so to push this wheel further out, which we've done on that wheel, right?
Yep.
So
Spacing is correct.
boom. So that now has the proper spacing. There is another spacer here that you can see. So this spacer allows the inner and outer wheel to stay an appropriate distance apart from one another. So again, you don't get a rock or something in here that ends up getting lodged. You might, but it's gonna help when you have the proper spacing to not get something stuck in there. And that's the good looking owner of it. Look at him, look at that. I should have a Ford badge instead of that Ram in there, but it's all good. And then this guy is still waiting for a motor mount. We did the transmission, it's waiting for a motor mount and an engine mount, and it will be ready to go. All right, let's see what's going on in the back shop. All right, after you. Age before beauty.
You are.
Here we have a Holland and Holland. Range Rover has something for everyone, kind of. Like same thing with Porsche. Their cars started at a very entry-level price, figure like 70 grand, and then they go all the way up to whatever you could kind of imagine. So this Holland and Holland Range Rover is a bespoke trim line where you can custom order everything for the vehicle. You have touches like, again, you can see the door sill plate. The carpeting is very plush. You have carvings like this on all the metal pieces. Again, like the trim and bezel. Quite nice. You see the jeweled diamond pattern you have in the trim pieces, the seats themselves. And it comes with a custom shotgun case in the back, which is quite cool. 90 series Defender, so two-door Defender that came in, got into an accident, so we fixed the damage repair, and now we are wrapping it. It's like a very dark, it's almost like a eggplant or a Fabergé. Fabergine, sorry.
What?
Fabergine, I think. You could cut that part out if I mispronounced it.
But in English or American, it is generally pronounced aubergine.
Ta-da! That's the face of confidence right there. So orange peel is when you look down the body sight of a car, body lines of a car, and it looks like the peel of an orange. It's caused by high and low spots in the painting process. So when you paint it with a gun, not everything is gonna lay flat as you would expect. You'll have high ridges, you'll have low ridges. What they do on higher end vehicles is they have an extra process after the vehicle's painted where they go through and wet sand. So they start with like a 1500 or 2000 grit sandpaper and work up to like a 3000 grit and then polish. And they knock down the highs and they bring the highs and lows together. So when you look down the body line of a car, all you see is a glass-like finish as opposed to a little wavy, again, textured or orange peel look. Other cars that are more affordable and more mass-produced, you'll see more of it because they're not gonna spend the time to buff and color correct the vehicle. Cool thing about this car, it's a 1956 Lincoln Continental. The owner of it, his mother won it in a raffle, believe it or not, back in 1956. He's owned it the whole time, and when he brought it to me, it was white. I thought it was a very beautiful white, but the client had different ideas. He had a blue in mind. He brought me a paint sample, said this is the blue I want you to match, and so I did it. I painted the entire vehicle. We did everything actually. We did engine bay, we did everything. Blew apart the doors, back. So this entire vehicle got repainted to the customer's choice of blue. Something cool that I love about this. So you look around it, there's no gas tank. Traditionally, a lot of old cars had it at the in the license plate, but not this one. So Lincoln came up with a cool idea. When you go over here and pop this, bam, that's where your gas cap is. This thing rides like a dream. This guy is out of prep, so it's been, body work has been done, it's been primed. Now comes the hard part, or not hard part, but now we have to mask everything else off and paint this entire section over to the other side and down to the A-pillar there, because this is where the cut line is. So this whole area down here and everywhere around has to get painted, because there's no other termination of a body line in this area for me to use that as a cut. So this is a wood plank off 1958 Chevy Apache pickup truck. The bed obviously has been weathered. It's natural wood, so it's going to deteriorate if it isn't protected well. So we got it in. I think we're going to try to save it, even though there's a couple cracks in it. I think we're going to try to fill it with wood filler and then refinish it and epoxy it. And I'll show you where the actual vehicle is. So this is where the bed came out of. As you can see one of the last pieces still there. The wood obviously will deteriorate as those pieces did that you saw. So we removed it all, and then we are going to go through refinishing it. Okay, so making our way back here in the back shop. This is the car that we talked about last week. This was the Kaboom car. So this engine, unfortunately, well, the previous engine blew up. Daniel, our technician, that good looking stud right there, he finished all this up. So he got the old engine out, we got the new engine in, we got the supercharger in. So now the customer has a newly remanufactured engine from Ford. You can kind of see the mods that he has. So he has a Borla exhaust, the Whipple supercharger's carb number, which is very important. Anything we do in Galpin Autosports is always going to be street legal. So that supercharger is legal for this vehicle. So if you get pulled over, you don't have any issues with any referee tickets or the cops giving you a hassle, because that is fully legal to be on this car. So this guy is ready to go home soon. Daniel's probably going to road test it at some point tomorrow. Delete this part about anything that Ray says, just don't put it on audio. So this GT here is in for a couple different reasons. The customer's getting some service done, but we are also upgrading his exhaust. So the customer's car came in with the factory exhaust, which is this one. This is the factory exhaust, has black tips, stainless, has black tips. This is, again, we protected it, put these like booties on it, but this is an Akrapovic. Huge difference in weight between them. And again, this was an option on these vehicles. Not all of them had it. So Ray, look at this thing. It's just beautiful. Every angle you look at it, that's where they live. But Ray is gonna took the old one out. The new one's gonna go in. And you can see, so this is the cats. So when you look at cats, it needs to have this honeycombing inside. If this honeycombing is destroyed or damaged and not intact, it will cause major issues. Your engine won't run right. You'll be sputtering, you definitely won't pass smog. So that's why these you need to be careful for. You can't really go around if anything hits these, or if you have excess fuel dump into these, it could destroy them internally. And then you're out a couple grand depending on what car. For this car, good luck. A couple grand won't even cover it. That's cool. So this is the system hydraulics that runs the wing up top. You can kind of see right there. That's what at high speeds gives you stability at high speeds and also braking. That's full brake mode, so that's giving you the maximum downforce against the back wheels to make sure you have grip and also slow the car down. All right, guys, so that was the quick walk around, not even a quick, but that was your walk around for today. There's a lot of cool builds in the shop and a lot of cool projects in the shop that we're looking forward to finishing up. I'll do one of these when they're nearing completion so you guys can catch the tail end of them. And I guess we'll see you guys then.